Oh, no!
Hey everyone, this is Andy Kushner, host of the Wedding Biz, and I'm so excited today because we are kicking off a new edition to the show called The Next Level. And every Monday, when we release our interview of the week, we are going to simultaneously release a segment of approximately 15 minutes or so in which myself and my co-host, who I'm about to introduce, very excited to do that, we discuss the guest interview and we translate portions of it into specific tactical strategies that you can use to bring your business to the next level, and hence the name of these segments, The Next Level. Also, from time to time, we will have a guest host join us, both of us. And now, without further ado, let me introduce my regular co-host of The Next Level, the esteemed marketing director of the Wedding Biz, also a wonderful wedding industry consultant in her own right, Melissa Fancy.
Hello, this is so exciting, Andy.
Yeah, it's a blast, Melissa, to have you on the show. You want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I started out in the luxury event and wedding planning world. And when social media became a huge deal, it sort of grew organically to have a consulting business for me. And that took me to Engage, where I met you. And now here we are. It's great. I'm very much looking forward to this. I really love the podcast, and I think that this is something our industry really, really needs, especially when it comes to having conversations that are going to elevate our world.
Yes. Well, today's interview release is, as you all know, Lisa Gooder, Executive Director of Brides Editorial. And my conversation with her took place in her office at Condé Nast in New York City, where I got to meet the team. So passionate. It's amazing what they're doing there. And so really so much information and great advice came out of that conversation. But again, Melissa and I are going to kind of take out what we feel are the biggest topics and what you can do to them to help your business. So what do you think, Melissa? What would you say would be the first topic for us to talk about? What was the main one to you that really resonated?
You know, I think that what I really saw overall was how much she talked about the importance of the story. And this is probably the biggest takeaway that you could get from her interview. When you look at our purpose as wedding professionals being a part of these couples' day, we have to remember ourselves that it is about the story. It is about the experience for these couples. It is not about us as vendors and what we need. It is not about even really like shot lists and timelines. Those are very important things, but it's really about the moments that brides and grooms have on the wedding day and how that translates to emotional photography and emotional moments that they will remember for the rest of their lives. And that is something that I feel a lot of wedding professionals can be reminded. That's our true purpose, and everything should revolve around that.
Yeah, I agree. It was really interesting how she framed it, that these days, even in terms of what she and her staff looks for, is no longer just, for example, you mentioned photography as an example of this. And she talked about how it's not just pictures of the pretty flowers and a wonderful picture of the design, of the decor. Yes, that's important. But on the other hand, to go deeper and have, again, staying with photographs that tell a story. And I remember, recently I interviewed Jose Villa, who's a great example of that.
Oh, I agree. He is somebody who, when you look at the images, you can feel what the couple is feeling. And there's something there. But when he was talking, I don't know if you remember in his interview, I think it was like 2 weeks ago you released it.
That's right.
He talks about how it is about the moments. It is about allowing them to have freedom in experiencing that on the wedding day. And we as wedding professionals are so amazing at making things look beautiful and perfect. And, we can do a million inspiration shoots, but what happens is this idea of perfection and conceptualized shoots, and it's not real. It's not relatable. And I think our job is to bring it back to what's real and what's relatable and really focus on things that our brides and grooms can have and we can give them to remember for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And that makes me think about when Lisa was talking about where she feels the industry is going, the wedding industry, and talked about more personalization, more self-expression, and sharing through these various digital platforms. She talked about how 73% of couples now are at least contributing, if not paying completely, for their own weddings. And so that is really also changing the game. I mean, not only are they becoming more independent and more empowered, but they therefore are having a bigger say, right? And in terms of telling their story, it's changing. It's not just us dealing so much with the bride's mothers anymore.
Oh, totally. It's definitely shifted. You know, it was for sure that like a mother would book vendors and create this amazing experience and party for her daughter or son, you know, and that was great. We were a part of some amazing events. I know you for sure were, but now it's a different thing. Like couples are paying for their own weddings. They get to choose how they want to interact with their vendors. They are choosing them not just on their talent anymore, right? Like they're getting picked by just even the emails that are sent, like they pick by how people are communicating with them and if it's the way that they communicate. And I think there's something to that, you know, it's just a huge different shift because there's no societal expectation anymore.
Yeah, that was really interesting too that she talked about. Whereas in the past, you know, there was a certain expectation, right, to get married. And you and I were talking earlier about that was also kind of the sign of becoming an adult, and that has completely changed. Matter of fact, I believe Lisa said 33% of the couples already have children. I mean, that is incredible. That really blew me away.
Well, yeah, and you see children being more and more involved in the wedding day. I was just looking at images the other day of a wedding where the children were sitting at the sweetheart table, you know, and we're looking at tradition not really being the focal point of a reception anymore. It's more about this personal expression of who the bride and groom are. And I think that a lesson for us is really to figure out how to speak to that for our couples, especially when, you know, you're looking at booking a couple. You really have to figure out how to speak to those personal details that we can bring out on the wedding day for them.
You know, she also talked about how exclusivity is no longer existing. Lisa was also talking about how 70% of brides are using digital media to find inspiration, and therefore the importance even more so of platforms like Instagram, obviously still Pinterest,
right?
And how that changes the whole idea of exclusivity.
Right. Well, I mean, it used to be that when you did a badass wedding that you really couldn't put it out there. You couldn't, even as, you know, vendors, you couldn't put it out there. And it was something that you weren't be able to get it published unless it was on the down low. And then finally, when it got published, you could put it out there. But now, because everybody is in this hyper sharing mode, Brides has really embraced that, and they have changed their rules on exclusivity, and they're allowing images that have been posted to still be candidates for publication. And that is so cool, I think. Like, they are totally changing the game here. And for us as vendors, frienders, I like to call them, that is such a cool, empowering thing for us. And that is more reason that we need to be using these platforms to share what we're doing and to really connect with our potential brides and our current clients. It's an opportunity that we have that's free, and there's no reason we shouldn't be using it. Like, if you don't know how to use Instagram or Instagram stories, go watch what Brides is doing, because they are absolutely doing it right. And they are providing a conversation that we all should be providing for our clients.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's funny, as you know, Melissa, I was slow to come around, and you were practically like, you know, breaking my neck to get me to really embrace this. And now that I am, I get it. Like, I really love it. So if there's anyone out there that is still feeling some resistance to, you know, using the social media platforms and all the digital platforms that are out there, I do encourage you, like myself, I mean, go on YouTube, look it up. I mean, you know, we have to do it. We have to embrace it. And again, and I'm enjoying it. I'm actually enjoying doing that. And I want to say too, Melissa, you mentioned the term frienders. I really like that. I was thinking back to my interview with Colin Cowie, which was several months ago. It's a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I urge everyone to listen to it. And Colin talks about how in our industry, we should not use the word vendors. I think he said something funny, like a vendor is a hot dog vendor, and to call each other partners or like you said, frienders. I really like that. It's just a shift in perspective. And I know, you know, I have a music business, and so I've been referred to a million times as a vendor, and I personally have never liked that. And so I would recommend to all of you out there to refer to your previously called vendors as frienders or partners. It's just a different vibe, you know, if I could use the 70s term. Well,
and it embraces the shift that's happening, right? Like, One of the things that she says in her interview that really also has stuck with me is, that this is a process that our couples are going through to get from engaged to married. It's not a party that we just hire people for a one-off service for and then we're just done. We as frienders are here to facilitate this. And when we are working with the other components of the wedding day, for us to actually act as partners is so much more powerful and a better experience for our brides and grooms. So I also urge people to really, really create strong connections with everybody that you could potentially work with, not just the people that you do work with, because who is picking your vendors for the wedding day is so much more than just the wedding planners now. It's the bride and grooms themselves. And so it's really more important than ever to have really strong connections, not just with the people that you actually like, with everybody in your local industry.
I agree. And I want to give one brief tip about this too. I forget who I saw do this, but there was an event I was on where the event planner designer got all the partners together in a room and had a little bit of a huddle before the wedding started. Now, I know that can sometimes, it can be difficult, certainly depending on the timing of the ceremony, what's going on with the cocktail hour, but it was before they opened the doors. This was in a ballroom, and I loved it. It bonded us more together, and it was like together, we're almost like a sport team. We're going to really do a great job. So for the last topic, before we close, I also want to mention that Lisa talked about balance, like how, especially being a woman, and I'm going to say too, guys too, when you have kids, you're developing a new relationship, but particularly, building a family. She talked about how hard it is, and that in the office at Condé Nast, the women there, and guys too, who are fathers, talk about it. They talk about it. They share their feelings. I want to urge you all, share your feelings with friends and colleagues. And in my interview of Shawna Gohel, owner of Maharani Weddings, we talked about this as well. And she gave a really good tip. It was a very touching moment in the interview. And she was saying how incredibly hard it was when she was building her business, right? We're all entrepreneurs. She was building her business and raising children, being pregnant, raising children. And she was having such a hard time. And she was so relieved when a friend of hers who had been through the same experience told her, and you would think this is simple, but in that moment, just day to day, just wake up, focus on what you have to do today, period. And that made such a difference for her. And one more point about that was we all feel overwhelmed at times. I certainly do, right? And it's hard not to think about everything that needs to be done. And so again, applying that, take a moment, breathe, and just deal with what you have to deal with today, day at a time. I think that makes a big difference, especially getting into the busy season. So Melissa, that's it for today. I believe you have some exciting announcements.
Yes. So we're really excited. The next level has been such a cool idea. I'm so glad we all came up with this, but there's definitely so much more that we can get out of this episode. And so we are going to provide our listeners with a full takeaway that Andy and I will put together. We'll email to you. If you guys go to our website and sign up just in our newsletter pop-up, we will send this out to you, the full takeaway. And then every week we're going to be giving that to you. So if you're on that mailing list, we'll be sending out the full takeaway from every episode. It's really exciting. We just think there's so much awesome information within each episode, and we want to really pull that out for you.
That's right. And the website is theweddingbiz.com. And we also want to say that if any of you have any challenging situations in your business or any questions that we can help you with that you're struggling with, and perhaps that you think others as well, because we are a community, please direct message us at Wedding Biz Show on Instagram, Wedding Biz Show. And with all the guests that we have from the past, we have doors open now to so many incredible experts. We will help get the answer, and we'll bring it up in this segment, The Next Level, every week. And be sure to tune in next Monday when we release my conversation with David Tutera. Oh my God, Melissa, the energy with David was over the top. The main thing I want to say about David is how he reinvents himself. And it's an incredible interview. Again, so much comes out of it that we can all use to help us. And once again, Melissa and I will discuss some of the bigger topics and takeaways and help translate into specific tactical strategies for you to use. So tune in next Monday to David Tutera and The Next Level. Thanks, everybody, for listening to The Next Level with myself, Andy Kushner, and my illustrious co-host, Melissa Fancy, on The Wedding Biz.
Don't worry about it.